Okay. Obviously, the first thing as far as when we're talking about getting distributors and talking to them, I mean, the first thing is you just have to put yourself out there. So that means you have to ask people. So it comes down to, asking people the question. But once it gets into the question, so Jojo, when you asked like what to talk about, did you want to talk about like once you're in the conversation about talking about the being a distributor?
Yeah, or even just kind of how to bring it up. So it's not so like, I don't want to make it awkward. You know what I mean? Like, I don't be like, so, hey, like, I don't know. I just, to not make it awkward and just how to kind of fit it in the conversation or.
For sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. There's 2 Rhondas. This is cute.
We're just figuring lots of things out. Sorry.
The lighting in this one's better. You should stick with this one. I really like the lighting in this one.
This one?
The other one. No, I'm just kidding. They're both good.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. So I think that's obviously like we kind of talked about. It's the hardest part is feeling like you're doing it naturally. And the first time you're not going to, just because you're learning something new, no matter what. And so it's going to seem, you have to fake it like it's normal until it is normal. So you have to just keep practicing and practicing.
Okay.
So first practice, just doing it, practicing your wording. A big thing, like especially as you're signing loyal customers, that's a really great time to ask about it because it's normal. But the big thing is you have to believe it yourself. So if you believe that it's a good idea to join as a distributor if they want to make money, if they want to get their products paid for, if you believe that they're going to hear that in your voice. So you have to come into that belief, because if you don't believe it yourself, then it's going to be really hard for you to sound convincing or believe yourself. And you don't want to say something you don't believe anyways. So think about the reasons why you joined. Think about why this is such a great opportunity. I know that Rhonda's read GoPro. I know that you, Jojo, are reading GoPro. And so when you hear those kinds of things, you just have to know, like, this is why this is a great opportunity and I want to share it with people. Okay. So you have to have the belief before you can really share it with people and feel confident bringing it up in regular conversation. So I would say that is really the first place to start. More important than even knowledge of what you're doing is the belief. Okay.
When it's so funny, I can like say the things in my head and feel it in my head, but sometimes coming out and saying it, I feel like it just sounds awkward. Does that make sense?
No, yes. And that's the part where I feel like if you mumble your words and you say something funny, the belief though, because you're saying it from your heart, is going to sound better than saying the right words, even though they don't believe it. And I think that's how you can always tell how people are being a salesman, or if you're just trying to share something that you're passionate about. Like if I didn't really like a restaurant, but somebody told me to do a review, it's going to be a lot harder for me to do a review, even if they gave me the script, that kind of a thing. So again, it really just, and if you're not there yet, you guys are both doing the right thing as far as, reading books like GoPro and like, really diving into personal development and realizing what the industry of network marketing can do. That is, and then obviously, of course, using the products and loving the products. That's also a piece to that too. So get that belief. And when you're talking to people, when you're building relationships, put yourself in their shoes. Like when I've said this before, this isn't necessarily about being a distributor, but my Macy's counter girl, I get Lancome. I've been going there, whatever. I'm not even that long, but her name is Julie. And she's so consistent with calling me if there's specials or sales or things. Now, like if I put myself in her shoes, both directions, like sometimes I get nervous to get a hold of my customers. Sometimes I feel, am I bothering them? And I lots of times don't answer them back, like her back at all. But that doesn't mean I'm mad at her for getting a hold of me. So you have to she's doing her job. You're doing your job. Your job is to share these products because you care about the products and because you care about the people. So again, it just comes to your job is to talk to people and to share it. And then put yourself in their shoes. Every time she talks to me, she makes me feel like she has a relationship with me. I don't know this woman, but she's so good at being super relational with me. Hey, Amy, how are you doing? I mean, and I think with us too, a lot of times we have the privilege of knowing, unless we've met them at random vendor events, which is the case a lot of times, especially when you're getting started, we do have the opportunity. We do know a lot of our loyal customers. So we can continue and build on that relationship and be relational and show them that we care. So then when it moves on further, when you're asking them about the opportunity because you believe in it and because they're using the products, you're just offering it to them. And if they say yes, great. And if they say no, it doesn't matter. Like they just want to use the products. Great. That's why when I explain the loyal distributor, you can do one of two things. You might just want to be an awesome customer, but you might want to make some money. If you do, here's what we do. And And as far as like getting to that point, it's about the relationship piece. That's about, if you aren't being relational, it's going to seem more awkward. That's why when people cold message, that's just when you message out of the blue, you either somebody you don't know or somebody you haven't talked to in forever. It feels gross because you haven't started a relationship. And even if and it's going to seem weird doing it even if you do have a relationship, but that's why it takes practice. And then remembering, detach yourself from the outcome. If they say no, it's fine. That kind of, does that help a little? Or do you want to talk more about getting to that point?
No, it all totally makes sense. And I think it's just going to be a matter of fact of doing it. Just like you said, practicing it. Even a couple of people who I've reached out to for, just the products in general, I was like kind of timid and scared to do it. But then they were like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then I thought to myself, why did I worry about that? Like, you know what I mean? Like I psyched myself up so much to do it. And then it was, I didn't have to at all.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, especially when I started, for sure, I had like a script in my head of what I was going to say every time to the people.
Right.
And while there is some truth to knowing and kind of having lines or whatever, if they say this is a great thing to say. If you wouldn't say it in normal conversation, then, don't say it. So like if I'm asking somebody to join my team, if I was talking to them, I wouldn't say, hey, you should join my team. It's $99 to join, blah, 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 blah. And the cool thing is we don't have to stock product, blah, 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 and just say all the facts. It's not how I would have a conversation with someone. So when you're having a conversation with someone, you're asking one question at a time. You're getting them going. Now, if I've been friending people on Facebook and I'm commenting back and forth. We're in a conversation. Yeah, I'm going to come with, hey, like this might sound like it's out of the blue, but I've really been thinking about you and I'd love to have you on my team because, I really love your personality and I think that you'd be great at this. Okay, so that's more of it's not like we were back and forth. But the thing about that is whether she says yes or no, I'm leaving them better off. Okay. Right. If I complimented them, they're going to say, oh, that was great. You might even say, if you're not interested, that's no problem. I've just been thinking about you. I wanted to ask. And so leave the person, somebody told me this, leave them better off before talking to them, compliment them, make them feel good, let them feel okay for saying no, because we don't want to pressure anybody. In fact, that's one of the lines, one of the things I do say to people once they, like we're talking back and forth and they just don't seem to know. And if I feel like they feel like they're being pressured, even though you're just excited, because sometimes your excitement and you're telling them all the reasons that make sense to you because they do make sense to you, but you feel like they could be. And then I said, but the last thing I ever want to do is convince somebody. I never want to pressure somebody. I want it to be your decision. I don't ever want to talk you into doing something. I want it to be your decision. And when you say that to them, they're like, okay, then they can hear what you're saying as just information instead of pressure. Even if they were feeling it ahead of time, because that's not what you're trying to do,
Right.
What about you, Rhonda? Any questions or comments?
No, I think it's good. I think Melissa said it at one point too, where you just give them permission to say no. Because I think sometimes there's such that awkward of, or if you just say, this might not be for you, but it's been great for me and this is why, or something like that. It just seems a lot more natural than.
Yeah, because I think there is a lot of pressure out there from a lot of different people. So when you are that way, whether you're trying to do a sale or if you're trying to ask them if they compliment them by telling them that you like them on your team, that's exactly right. Giving them that out is really, people appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So once people you get into the conversations that, you've asked them already, like, sure, I want to hear more. Or tell me a little bit more, send me some information. First of all, I don't usually just send them information. That's usually when I say, okay, well, let's talk on the phone or let's get together over coffee if it's, like doing a play date like you, JoJo, or whatever. Yeah. It's really hard to just I had a friend who's interested in learning more. Just send me some information. I will for some people, and I think for some personalities, that is what they want, actually, just to soak it all in. I know for me, even if I would say send me more information, that's not actually what I'm asking from people. What I'm asking is let's have a conversation, even though they don't necessarily know that. It can just be so overwhelming. So what I'll say a lot of times is I'll even joke and say I tend to word vomit. What are some specific questions that you'd want to know? Or I might start with I might give them the basics. Yep, it's just $99 to join. You get one of those box of wraps. Have you heard of the wraps before? Whatever. And then I'll stop from there, and then I'll maybe say something like, what other kinds of questions do you want to know about the products? Are you more interested, like just help them, guide them to let them ask the questions. So you've gone through, the basics. I tell them about the $99 to join, and how you can earn that back. I tell them that we don't stock product. I tell them kind of those basic things. And you kind of get to a standstill, that kind of happens. And there's usually a few fears, holdups, I feel that people say, and I just wrote a few of them down and kind of how I address them, and maybe you've heard them already. But so one of them, a lot of people say, I just don't feel like I know enough people. And so I always tell people, so these are the ways I kind of talk people out of these thoughts, or even if you've thought of them yourself. I always tell people, you know way more people than you think. Okay, first of all, so many more. I challenge them to make a hundreds list. I'll make it with them. I'll tell them to, or even just in their head, I'll tell them to start with their mom and name everybody that their mom knows, and then their sister, and all their sister's friends. The people that that her sister knows. So you can always think of more people. You start with your school, and then you do your church, then you do your small group, and then you do who your kids go to ballet with. So you always just encourage people. Way more people. Just because you have 70 friends only on Facebook, way more than 70 people. And some people might actually start with a smaller market. We'll say this is your chance to make friends. This is where you get to be intentional. This is where you get to meet new friends. You get to catch up with old high school friends. Oh, well, I had a bad past. Okay, you get to make new friends, or you get to show people that you've changed, that kind of thing. Because there's been people who I know who have had a rougher high school, and they don't have a lot of good relationships from their past or whatever. And so there's ways to work through that. And that's another reason about this business, where I know that for me, I didn't expect so much personal growth and just becoming a better version of myself. And I think people don't realize that right away, but a lot of times that's what comes because of this. And then you tell people, obviously with social media, there's an endless amount of people. I mean, if you want to just find some cold market people, you just start working Instagram, if that's kind of the way you want to do things. So you can tell people, I don't know enough people. Well, you can just say you can grow your Instagram account by thousands within, if you're just adding, and Facebook, you want to be a little bit more intentional, but then that's good too. So basically, if they don't know enough people, you can debunk that pretty quickly when you kind of just share certain ways. And if somebody's like, I don't want to meet people, and they just are really, I've learned to just kind of let people go, because if they aren't willing to meet people, if they're not willing to be relational at all, you don't really want them on your team, because they don't want it, help them realize that. I mean, sometimes they'll say that, I'll say, well, this might not be for you then. I said, if you want to make money from home and doing this kind of business, because they've gotten to that point, say you're going to have to meet some new friends. Say if you just want to get your products for free, that's fine. You don't need to go and make a lot of friends. You might just need a handful of a customer base. Easy to find. I tell people that getting a customer base is, those people that those people who love and support you. But if you're trying to make some money with this, you are going to have to get out of your comfort zone and meet some people. So let people know it's okay if you want to be where you're at. This is the reality. You aren't going to be growing by leaps and bounds. You're going to, get a customer base, free product. So I let people know that, because you don't want to set them up for failure either. The other one is another big one. You hear this all the time, is I'm not a salesperson. And I always say right away, that's good. Nobody really likes a salesperson. If they come to your door, you run the other way. Nobody wants, I tell people that my biggest fear was being the person that I go into a room and everyone, you hear people saying, oh, Amy's coming again. She's that it works girl. You just don't want to be that person. I think that's everybody's fear, because everybody knows somebody like that. I mean, we have a cousin who everybody's scared to get a message from him, because he's always asking you to buy his thing or his whatever. I won't talk bad about what he does, because whatever, but everybody knows it's his reputation, right? You don't want to be that. So the difference in what good network marketers do versus bad network marketers is they're relational. They share, they have a passion. People can tell that you're passionate about it. I hear all the time, I can tell you're so passionate about it. Like you really like your products, or you really, believe in what you do. And that's different. I like the way that you share your products, whatever. Some people even think you're selling because you're sharing so well. You know what I mean? And so share it, be a good friend, be relational. And the big one, be a product to the product. So you're telling people, I want you just to use the products and bring people on your journey. A lot of times people are going on a health journey themselves. And they say, well, I want to use the products first, but then I'll maybe think about being a distributor. Well, why not join? Okay. Take people along with you on your journey. People love that kind of a thing. People want to see real results, real people going through it. They want to do it with you. So I'll encourage people to be a product to the product and just share it as you do it, that kind of a thing. So that's what I say for the not a salesperson. Though I'm too busy one, I say everybody's busy, like period. Everybody is. I think that is absolutely true. I tell people that, yes, you are busy. I validate the fact that they're busy. Some people, I mean, everybody is busy. The big part about that is, one, usually busy people get things done because they know how to prioritize already. So I tell them that. I'll say, that's great, because you know what, in my experience, I've seen that busy people, they know how to get things done. You're going to know how to prioritize. And then really the big thing is prioritizing. And so you can use small pockets of windows in this business to get things done. You fit it into your life. If you're busy, chances are maybe you got a job. Maybe you're running your kids. If you have several jobs, we'll say those are some people who have several jobs. Say, that's great. That means you're naturally around people. Say, well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just busy with all my kids. Chances are you're running to church activities. You're running your kids to gymnastics. You're running your kids. You're having play dates. You're seeing moms all the time who have had babies who want to wrap and feel good about themselves, who are looking for ways to make extra money from home. Like, you are around a hot market all the time. If you're working in the corporate world, there's people who hate their job. There's people who are trying to get healthy and change things. So if you're busy, you have to look at the positive sides of that, you know? And then remember that busy people do get things done because they know what to do with their time. And I know for me, when I schedule my time out and I'm busy, I get more done than if I just have all the time in the world, which that doesn't happen anymore, but back when it did. Oh yeah, and the other thing is working it into your life. So whether or not you have, I kind of talked about that, just being a good friend and just being intentional no matter what. And then another one, they kind of ask how they balance time. This kind of runs in with that. And then I give them tips. This is kind of when they're further in. I talk about the 6 list. I won't go into that. A lot of times you'll hear, I can't afford it. And then I always say, if you can't afford the kit, then you can't afford not to be doing this. Because if you can't afford $99, then you need to be making some extra money. Like, I'll say it like that. And then I'll explain to them how you can pre-sell their apps. I say, find 4 people who want to try their app. Okay, so and I'll give them a challenge. I'll say 24 hours, maybe 72 hours, 4 people who are willing to try their app for $25, collect their money, tell them, yep, great, you're going to be my first 4 people. Here it is. And then when your apps come in, you go and wrap them. And that's, people say, well, people aren't going to want to pay me for my product. That happens. We pay for our products all the time before we get them. So if you're not weird about it, they're not going to be weird about it. Does that make sense as far as pre-selling? So you always pre-sell, and then you tell people, if you can't afford this, then you absolutely, same with products. If they can't afford, oh, I can't wrap, I really want to try the wraps or the greens or the cleanse or whatever, I'll say, well, you should join as a distributor so you can earn your products for free. So that's another line I use a lot and gets people thinking. I'm talking fast because last time we ran out of time. I've ran across several people. Now that network marketing obviously has been around for several years, but I think in the past, probably 5, it's people have kind of jumped on the bandwagon, and people jump on and they give up all the time, which is why I think network marketing can get a really bad rap. People, you see people start every day, right, on social media, and then they kind of fizzle out. A lot of those people have gotten a lot of debt, bad experiences, lots of different things. So people will say, I've done the whole network marketing thing, I failed. And I talk about the difference. So the big differences with it works. What makes it so unique is, one, it's only $99 to join. That's pretty ridiculous, knowing that you're also getting over $100 of product with that. Okay. So the fact that we can literally, even if before, like when you're pre-selling your apps, you can have your investment made back before you even start. That's pretty ridiculous, if you pre-sell your apps. But once you sell these 4 apps, that's it. Like, your money is made back that $100. Okay. I think it's usually $113. So maybe they don't pay for tax and shipping, whatever. Okay. So, I tell people how unique that is, that you can start literally and be on top of the game if you sell them back. The other thing is that we don't have to stock products. So a lot of friends of mine have had like thousands and thousands of dollars of closets and garages full of things. We don't stock product. You only have to stock what you use. Yes, I always recommend you have a box of wraps, but that's when I talk about, use that in your auto shipment. It pays for that every month. But if you can't even do that when you start, there's people who can't afford that. I understand that. Don't then. You know what? You don't have to. Then get your 150 personal bonus volume. Like, I'll explain that. I usually don't go into super tons of detail with people right away because it's like way too much. But when it gets to that point. So the big thing is, we don't stock product. We don't have monthly sales quotas. You don't have to, there's no, like, if you decide you want to do this in 3 months down the road, you want to quit, there's no penalty for quitting. Like I tell people, it's just really risk-free. There's nothing to worry about as far as like getting to business debt. And I always tell people I work closely with people so they don't get into business debt, because that's the last thing I want for people. They join my team and then I find out 6 months later they have hundreds and hundreds of dollars of product. I would feel terrible. I would say, why weren't you talking to me, first of all, or using the product yourself? But that's not what we want, you know? So it's pretty easy, not easy. I like to talk people through the good positive points of our company, because they've really set it up so that you don't have to have a lot of business debt. Okay. A big one, I think, the biggest one I think people you hear is the fear of failure, the fear of what people will think of me. That was my biggest. What was yours, JoJo? Was that your biggest fear, or what was yours?
I think failure was one of them, and just thinking, like you said too, like not knowing enough people, like, and being like salesy. I guess I was probably a combination of a lot of them.
What would you say yours were, Rhonda?
I think mine was probably the salesy thing, because I have quite a few family and friends who do this kind of business, and it's just every single post is their product, or every single conversation. I just didn't want to be that person.
Yep. What has been your feedback? Have you gotten any feedback from any people maybe in the same group or them specifically about how you're running your business?
No, they take my posts and they change them to be their product.
That is so annoying.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
I guess take it as a compliment.
I know. It's for like our team, it's great. I think it's great that we share stuff, but when it's a completely different product and you're scrolling through Facebook and you're like, that is my post.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So but other than that, they haven't said anything.
Okay. Are you talking about friends or family?
Family. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Makes it even harder to love them. Just kidding. Yeah. That is hilarious. So at least you know that they think you're doing it right. I guess so. Wow. That is really, really funny. Okay. Since this is a recorded call, we'll leave it at that. Right? Yeah. So your big thing was salesy. So I think for me, my biggest thing was probably, actually it was a lot of them too, the salesy thing, but a big one was fear of like what other people would think of me, fear of failure in general. And so once I got even brave enough to say that I was scared of what other people thought of me, because that even saying it took me a while to get to, I just kind of, again, had to do a lot of, this was mostly getting through this was through self-development. And I think people can tell you these things in your head, and I heard them, but I didn't until you learn about yourself and whatever. It took me a while, but you just have to realize that I had to realize that through my journey and through what I was learning through It Works, I was becoming a better version of myself, and I truly believe that if I hadn't, if It Works hadn't found me or whatever, if God hadn't showed me this path, that I wouldn't be who I am. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I am a better version of myself. So I've had to learn that, and I've realized that really it doesn't matter what other people think. You're going to hear that, but until you really like internalize it, it doesn't really matter. I haven't changed who I am, and that was a big thing too. I'm not no different just because I'm using greens and talk about wraps, and I'm not a different person. I'm not a different Amy. I'm happier. I'm friendlier. I'm more intentional with people. Like, yes, that's true. I'm kinder. I smile more at people, and I care more about what they have to say, more than being my own bubble, being more insecure, like those kinds of things. So, and then I realized they don't pay my bills. Okay. Their thoughts for me don't pay my bills. And then because when I really, really got farther deeper, I remembered that if they still had a problem with me, okay, and my reason for wanting to do this was I wanted to be home with my kids, okay, and if they still want to have a problem with me for having my why that was totally about my family, like who could be mad at me for wanting to love my family and being a better mom, you know what I mean, like, or have a negative feeling about that. And then I realized the problem was them, and the problem wasn't me. Either they had a beef with me to start out with, because there was always certain people that came into my mind. I've told you both that there's a lot of negativity when I started from really close people in my life. It was super hurtful. And I still have it from those same people, some of them. And so if it comes in, I just remember that they have a beef with me. I'm no different. I love them the same. So it's nothing I'm doing. I kind of just had to really work through a lot of that, and they just don't understand. Some people just don't understand what we do. And that's why doing things like this, that's why plugging into team, listening to the Monday night calls and Sunday night calls are so important, because you see that other people are like-minded like you, that they are doing things like this, they're on the same mission. Because if you alienate yourself and don't have that in your life, you're going to just be like the people who are thinking negative thoughts about you because they don't understand you. And so for me, it was it's a ton of self-development. And this isn't even something I would necessarily say to people. Obviously, I'm getting a little deeper. This isn't what I was going to talk about. But if people are scared of other people thinking of you, I usually talk about, I'll say basically they don't pay your bills. You're not going to change who you are. You're using the products. Like, that's kind of where I'll stop. If they really want to know my heart journey, like what I just shared with you, I'd share it with them. Because I think people see then, like, you know what, good for you for putting yourself out there. Like, people can see that once they see your heart. You know what I mean? Because it's not easy what we do, like when you put yourself out there. But I think it's for a good reason, you know? And as far as the scared to fail one, a big one is people who are successful, they fail all the time. It's not about whether you fail or if you succeed. I mean, successful people, they fail all the time. It's just that they get up and try again. Like, I fail in little things all the time. I say the wrong thing. I mumble over my words. I lose a loyal customer because I said something wrong. I waited too long to follow up, whatever it is. But that isn't going to define who I am. And of course, for me, you know, as a believer in Christ, like, I have to realize that my identity is not in this business. My identity is in Christ, which is huge. But then also knowing that what it means to fail. What is failure? Well, failure doesn't mean that just because you didn't get your goal that you had for the end of it. That doesn't mean you failed. Okay. You just got to keep going, you know? And so you just have to really gain perspective. It's really, the people who fail are people who don't try, you know? And again, if you're having this conversation with somebody who's like, I'm just too scared if I can't do this or not, you know, what do you have to lose? You know, it's $99. Worst case scenario, you get a box of wraps for $99. So what, you know, and then you're done because there's no penalty. So I really just kind of walk them through that and just say, I was telling JoJo, like, if there's something about money or there's one of these things that we need to talk through that's holding them up, I'll talk them through it. I'll be patient and walk them through. But if it's like, I'm just scared, I'm like, I almost don't have time for that anymore. Even though I was there, I'm like, do this, like, out of fear, like, do this anyways, because what do you have to lose? You know, that kind of thing. Okay. What else, guys? I kind of just shared some things that I feel like I hear people say again, over and over again, as far as, I don't want to do this because. What else about finding distributors? Do you think it's the hardest when you get into the conversation with them or getting to the conversation?
I think for me, getting to, probably.
Okay.
I think.
How about you, Rhonda?
I think that's probably true too. I think I found myself like having conversations and things on Facebook with people and then like waiting, like, okay, when can I talk about it? When can I interject it? And it's natural, but I'm thinking about it, and how do I tie that all in and make it seem,
I would agree.
like a nice conversation.
Yep. I'm with you on that, kind of wondering when's a sweet time. And I think if you've been showing them that you care about them, which I know then, you know, the other part of you is like, they're going to think I'm just talking to them to get to this question, you know, because I know that's what, you know, what you worry about. And the reason, first of all, the fact that you worry about that means that they can probably know that you're caring about them, because you know that there's people who don't think about those things. Okay. So remember that. And then when they say no, you're just going to continue on, you know, like, you're still going to like their post. And because honestly, a lot of times it's not for now. There's been a lot of people who've said no and then they come back. So, and when they say no, you just thank them and you just keep going on, and then you ask them about their trip still, you know, that kind of thing. And they're going to know, and they're going to really respect that. And then they're really going to be watching your posts because they see that you're different. So I think that for me, I feel like I've been giving myself, I find myself sometimes saying, it's not the right time yet. It's not the right time, when really that's just my cop out for, I'm worried what they're going to say. Like, I find myself, you know, using that as my cop out, when instead I'm just going to ask them. And when they say yes, or, you know, if they say no, like, okay, no problem. Like, and just move on, you know, move on in my head as far as that emotional attachment piece. But if we don't ask, that's why I like having a certain number that you can ask, so that you know that you're doing your job relationally, that you just ask, you know, you just have a so that you keep yourself accountable for making sure that you ask, because people aren't going to come to you all the time. You have to ask. You have to ask, and posting is an asking. And they're not going to be surprised when you ask. It's your job. They're not going to be surprised, and they know your heart because you're sharing who you are, and they know you. Especially you two, I know for sure that people care about you. They know that you care about them, and you have a heart for other people, and you're not just you don't look at people and see dollar signs. Like, people know that about you,
Right.
I will say, I do think what you're saying, we just have to ask, because I did ask one woman, and she was so, I guess, flattered that I would even ask. And she's like, that's so sweet. I don't think so, but that's so nice that you would ask.
Yeah.
That you would want me on your team, or that kind of thing. So I think we build it up in our minds to be so much scarier than it needs to be too.
I pretty much had that same experience, and it was like the same thing where they said they were so flattered and things like that, but it just wasn't for them and stuff. But yeah, and I did too. I built it up in my head to be like the worst case scenario. They were going to think that's the only reason I was chatting with them. But it all ended up good. But yeah. And I think it's just a head game.
Just got to do it. And then remember the belief, because when your belief is there, it's going to seem like you're offering them something. You're going to know that you're offering them something that they need, rather than you feel like they're helping you out. So if you turn into you're helping them rather than you want them to help you, and you think about them and their life changing and what it can do for them, your mindset changes. And so now when you ask, you're thinking about how they made a post about how they just miss their kids when they're gone at work, or, they wish that they, you think about them, and all of a sudden it's not as hard to ask anymore.
Sure.
Right.
So, all right, guys, we have 3 minutes. So if there's any other questions or things, we'll end it before the 3-minute mark.
I think I'm good. That was helpful. I need to be more confident in it, and just do it. Mm-hmm. I think the longer I try and hold out on things and asking, then the more I build it up, more than it way needs to be. Yep,
for sure. I asked 2 of my huge chicken listers recently, and they both responded positively. For sure one of them said no, and the other one I'm actually still waiting on. But you know what? They knew. I just asked them, and I complimented them, and I told them that they're awesome and why, and they might say no, and that's okay. And I'm okay with it now. And I was so worried to ask them, what are they going to think of me? And I was going to say, a lot of times these things come up when you ask the 1 to 10. And I know, Rhonda, I'm sure you've read in the GoPro book, where are you at with 1 to 10? That's a really good question for a lot of things. We've been talking with a lot of people about a lot of different things, but especially this. You can kind of figure out where they're at, and you're just helping them think through it. Then you can get to these, get to the bottom of what it is that they're thinking and find out which one of these it is. Or which several, in JoJo's case, like she said. There was several for me too.
Yeah. I'm just a mess. No.
No, you're not. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being on, guys. And
thank you.
Yep. We'll talk again soon. And are you guys, Rhonda, do you think you'll be able to make it to the St. Cloud OTOM?
I don't know about that. That's the one on April 7th?
I think so.
Okay. I have to
Is that a Friday?
I think so. We're almost out of time. It's going to cut off in less than a minute, but okay. We'll talk about that soon. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.